Hey, it's your buddy, it's your pal, it's Karnak, and this is Star Wars Armada Explained. Today we're going to look at Clone Captain Zack. He is an officer for the Grand Army of the Republic. If you look at his upgrade card, you'll see that there's a little dot or bullet point in front of his name, signifies that Clone Captain Zack, or just Zack is what I'm going to call him, is unique. You can only ever have one Zack in your fleet. How do you know he equips to officer slot? Bottom left-hand corner of the card, you'll see the icon for that. Opposite of that, you'll see he's faction specific again for GAR, and he's 5 points. So, Clone Captain Zack, the card reads: while attacking from your side or rear hull zones, you may exhaust this card to add 1 die to your attack pool of a color already in your attack pool. You cannot add dice to a salvo attack. You can spend tokens from this card to ready it. So Clone Captain Zack is a very straightforward card. He's extremely similar to like Concentrate Fire. And the ships or situations you might want to use Clone Captain Zack with, I'll kind of, give some examples. But first we're going to, as I always do, we're going to run through the card. We're going to break down some sections or important pieces that you should be aware of. The first thing that we're going to cover before we actually get into the card text is: when does Clone Captain Zack actually gain that token on the card that he starts with there? You'll see in the blue bar there, he starts with 1 Concentrate Fire token. A lot of people are somewhat confused about when do you actually gain this token. So in the rules, it actually defines this as, the gaining of this token is when the ship is deployed during the deploy ship step of setup. Meaning when you deploy the ship is when you get the token. So if we have like the setup zone here, and let's say he's on this C-70, and as soon as you pick up the ship and say, okay, I'm deploying this ship, it's got Zack on it, and you plunk it down on the table and you say, that's where it's going to go, that's then when you gain the token on Zack's card. You see here we've got a Concentrate Fire token. If this was, by the rest of your ship stuff, you place the token on his card, boom, done. That's when you gain it. The reason why I specifically call this out is because a lot of players are making the mistake of they're getting their tokens after deployment, or they're getting their token at the start of the first round. And if you're in a big tournament, like an official tournament, not a casual tournament, if you tried to do that, your opponent rightfully could say, hey, that's not the appropriate timing for you to gain those tokens. You've missed your window of opportunity to get them. Now, is every player going to be like that? Of course not. There's a lot of players that probably would just say, "Oh yeah, I don't care, take the token." But again, as a judge, I'm letting you know that if I had to be called over for a missed opportunity timing window like this, I would have to rule. What does the rule say? Well, the rules say you should have gained it in this timing window. That's when you should have collected it, not later. So again, just making sure I'm letting new players be aware of when you gain the token, because again, it is, as it says, only during the deploy step or deploy ship step of setup. So that's the only time, meaning that even if like Clone Captain Zack was set aside like in hyperspace, like with hyperspace assault or some other means, and the ship is deployed not in the deployment period of setup, again, you wouldn't gain that token on that card. Not that you still wouldn't be able to have a lot of benefit from using the card. Again, you don't get the token that card starts with. Okay, so I want to make sure I was calling that out. Okay, cool. So let's move on to reading the card text and how it works. So we're going to pretend that Clone Captain Zack is equipped to this concierge ship here. He's deployed. He's got the token on his card. So let's run through it. So again, for Clone Captain Zack, it is while attacking from your side or rear hull zone. So meaning if there's an enemy just directly in front of you, and even though you're firing everything, Zack's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm just a clone. I'm not very useful in this situation. He's just right in front of me. I can't do anything. But if the enemy happens to be in one of your side or rear arcs, then he's like, aha, okay, stand back, everyone. I'm going to do my thing here. So that's when you're able to utilize Clone Captain Zack. So even if they're like straddling the line, again, as long as you're able to make an attack from your left, right, or rear hull zone on a target, again, you can get that benefit. So again, we'll walk through. Okay, we're going to say that we're attacking from our right hull zone to the right hull zone of this Munificent here. So from there to there. Okay, we can see this attack is at close range. All right, so when do you add the die from this effect? A lot of people again are going to make the mistake of like, oh, I'm going to add the die before I even roll my attack pool. So remember, per RNG, add when it says add die to your attack pool. This is always after you have gathered your attack pool, you've rolled it, and then you're in the modify dice step, and that's when you can actually add dice to your pool. It's never beforehand, and there's reasons for this. Too much really to get into and explain, but pretty much whenever it says you get to add dice, it's always after you've rolled your attack pool. Okay, so let's say that he's equipped to this concierge here. He's got the 2 red die. We're going to shoot this Magnificent. We roll our 2 red. Okay, we got an accuracy and a blank. That's not so good. Good thing we've got Zach here to back us up. Okay, so I'm attacking. I can exhaust this card. We're going to exhaust it. Okay, cool. I can add 1 die of a die that's already in my attack pool. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to add a red because that's the color in here. And hey, we got, a single hit, so at least we got an accuracy and a hit. And again, just to clarify, because again, it says it on this card, you can never add dice to a salvo attack. There's no ability in the game. There's none that I'm aware of in the future. They already feel like up to 3 dice, initially or however many from a salvo is it's plenty. It's enough. You don't need to be able to overcomplicate that. So again, never add dice to a salvo attack. And again, for Clone Captain Zach, you exhaust the card. You add the die of a color in the pool. So if you only have reds, you can add reds. If there's a multitude of colors, again, whatever's already in your pool, you can add a color into that. So again, very similar to Concentrate Fire. So the thing with Clone Captain Zach now is that the card is exhausted. You've added the die. You're moving on. When can you use this card ability again? If you look at the right-hand side, you'll see that there's a bunch of red. You'll see a single arrow. This means that this card exhausts, and in order to ready it, you have to pay what's called a ready cost. This is done during the status phase. It's the final phase of a round because you have your 4 rounds in Armada. Status phase is the final one. So how can you refresh it and ready it so you can use this card again? The cost is 1 Concentrate Fire token. Now, the reason why this card says you can spend tokens from this card to ready it is because typically cards can't do that, but because, again, this card specifically says, hey, if you have a Concentrate Fire token on this card, which we do because that's what we got from deployment, I can spend it. So we chuck that token, and then we can ready the card so we can use it the next round. If there wasn't a token available on the card, you can spend a Concentrate Fire token if the ship it's equipped to has a token saved. You can spend that. Otherwise, you can't ready the card until you do pay its cost. And again, I want to be specific, is that the only time you can ready this card is during the status phase of the round. During the status phase of a round, meaning that if you don't ready it, and you move on to the next round and you forgot to ready it, again, same deal, your opponent doesn't have to let you ready that card because you missed the timing window for it. So again, just trying to be clear, this is new stuff. Make sure everyone's moving forward on the same page. All right. One thing I do want to touch on too with Clone Captain Zach is that this add die effect is only a one-time use, meaning that if you had a bunch of squadrons over here, even though you are attacking multiple squadrons, you progress through one at a time. Again, you can only add it to one of those attacks. So you would be able to, if you would like to, choose one squadron. You could use Clone Captain Zach on that. You would not be able to use Zach on any additional squadron. So, it's definitely one of those things. It's like, oh, 1 more damage can potentially kill the squadron. Might be beneficial use to add Zach on there. Make sure you're killing it off and getting rid of it. All right, let's make sure that I'm not missing anything here from otherwise. Nope, I think we've covered pretty much everything. So that's Clone Captain Zach. Let's touch real quick on where are you going to get the most bang for buck out of Clone Captain Zach. 90% of the time, it's going to be Chargers, man. Chargers, C70s, just because they throw 2 red dice out the side, so very difficult to obstruct them. Zach helps them get that, additional die pool going that makes them make those sides a little bit beefier. because if you look at like acclimators, acclimators, oh, that's the Venator, the new Venator. So the acclimators, like, yeah, they throw 2 red and a black, but typically that officer slot, boy, it's really hard to argue why not clone officer, navigation officer, um, maybe something else on there. You could put Zach on an acclimator, but again, those side arcs, they're like victories. They're just so limited, and it just, it's very much a front-facing ship. You want front towards the enemy. So getting those side shots it's not nearly as beneficial, I feel like, compared to a console, which again, it's got those neat little arcs. It's easier to double arc with. Maybe the future Pelta, I don't know. Again, still doesn't seem like a great place for him. Definitely not on the armed cruiser variant of the Consolator, because again, it's just single blue at the side. So unless you're like really wanting to dive really hard with a really flimsy ship, whatever floats your boat. Some people have been running builds where they're doing a black dice build where, yeah, it throws the blue and the black, but then they zack and then they concentrate fire, so they stack those black dies up. And yeah, I mean, if it's just a cheap ship where its whole intent and purpose is just to self-immolate, sure, I guess, maybe, I don't know. It just seems pretty fragile and that it might die. But I guess treat it like a hammerhead, faster hammerhead. You might see them on Venators. The new Venators have been spoiled. Maybe not the Venator 1 because it's only got the single red and single blue and the black there. But the Venator 2s, it's got the double red, double blue. So there's might be other places for them, but by and large, you're probably only ever going to see them on the Chargers, just because that's just such a perfect sweet spot for them. Okay, of course, if you have any questions, if you feel like I missed anything, please be sure to leave a comment. Let me know. Contact me on Discord or the Facebooks. I'm everywhere. I look forward to doing the next video, hopefully sometime later this week. I'll catch you all next time.